Hi, and welcome to DLC's instructional videos. Today we are going to solve equations with variables on both sides. These are also called multi-step equations, but it has another complexity to it. You've got variables on both sides, and you've got to eliminate one of the variables before you could solve it. Okay, so let's go ahead and start. So I have a variable on this side of the equation and a variable on this side of the equation. And what I want to do is I want to eliminate one of them. So what I like to do is I always like to eliminate the smaller variable. That way I'm left with a positive number. So from 6 and 2, we know the smaller one is 2. So let's eliminate that. And how do you eliminate a 2 or a 2k? By combining it with its opposite. So if it's 2k, you're going to subtract 2k. Because 2k minus 2k is 0, and that's what zeroes it out. But because we're dealing with equations, what we do to one side, we have to do to the other to have the equation remain balanced. So that zeroes out. 6k minus 2k is 4k minus 3 equals 13. Now we have a two-step equation. So I have a negative 3. Remember, with two-step equations, you want to add and subtract before you multiply and divide. So because I have a negative 3, I want to zero that out by adding 3 to both sides. The 3 zero out, so I'm left with 4k is equal to 16. Now this is easy. This is just a one-step equation. Divide both sides by 4. 4 divided by 4 is 1. K, or just k. So k is equal to 16 divided by 4 is 4. Final answer. K equals 4. So that wasn't too hard. You just got to eliminate one of your variables first. Sometimes we may have to simplify, and we'll get to that later. So right here, we have a 9t on one side of the equal sign, and we have 3t on the other. We know that 3 is smaller, so we want to eliminate that one. So to eliminate a 3t, we combine it by its opposite, which is negative 3t. What we do to one side, we do to the other. So we add a negative 3t to the left. That zeroes out, so we're left with 9t minus 3t is 6t plus 7 equals negative 5. Now we have a two-step equation. We will always want to add and subtract before we multiply and divide. So to eliminate a positive 7, you combine it with its opposite. So it's a negative 7 plus 7, negative 7, that zeroes out, but what you do to one side, you have got to do to the other. Don't forget that. So that zeroes out. Now we're left with 6t is equal to negative 5, and a negative 7 is a negative 12. Here, because we're multiplying a variable by 6, to get rid of it or to cancel it out, as we say, is we divide. So the opposite of multiplication is division, and we divide by the same number. So we're dividing both sides by 6. 6 divided by 6 is 1t, but 1t is the same as t. So t is equal to negative 12 divided by 6 is negative 2. Final answer. Okay, that's not too hard. So here we've added just a smaller complexity. It's just a fraction. Big deal. Okay, so we have 2/5 n on one side, and then we have negative 3/5 n on the other. So I always say to eliminate your smaller variable. And we know that a negative is smaller than a positive, so we're going to eliminate the negative 3/5 n on the right. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. Treat this like if it was 3n. If it was negative 3n, then you would add 3n to both sides. So if it's negative 3/5 n, then we add 3/5 n to both sides. Okay, there's nothing hard about that. That zeroes out, and so what we're left with is when you add and subtract fractions, you only add and subtract the numerators, and you keep your denominator the same. So 3 plus 2 is 5, that's on top, and the denominator stays the same. So 5 over 5n, that's actually just 1n. So I don't actually have to put the 5 over 5. But for the purpose of showing you guys, that's why I'm doing that. Bring everything else down. So negative 9 on the left is equal to, and we're left with 7. Now it's a two-step equation. Now for the sake of just simplifying this, 5 divided by 5 is 1n, or just n. So I'm done with that. I don't have to I don't have to bother with that. So now I only have 9 minus n equals 7. That's actually a one-step equation. So get rid of the negative 9. How do you get rid of the negative 9? You combine it with its opposite. Opposite of negative 9 is positive 9. What you do to one side, do to the other. That zeroes out, so n equals 7 plus 9, 16. Final answer. Okay. So here, in addition to having variables on both sides, we have one more step. So look at the left side. There's nothing we could do on the left side. But if you look at the right side, we could combine like terms to simplify it. And that's what we're going to do. So 7c and a negative 2c, or 7c minus 2c, is 5c. At this point, just bring everything else down. Okay, that's gone. On the left side, I have 8c plus 1. Now I got variables on both sides. Eliminate the smaller variable. The smaller one's 5c. To eliminate 5c, you want to combine it with its opposite, which is negative 5c. What you do to one side, do to the other. That zeroes out. So on the left side, you have 8c minus 5c, which is 3c. Bring everything else down, plus 1 equals negative 14. Now we have a two-step equation. And then on a two-step equation, you always add and subtract before you multiply and divide. To get rid of a positive 1, you combine it with its opposite, which is negative 1. Positive 1, negative 1, 1 minus 1, 0, zeroes out. You're left with 3c is equal to negative 14, and negative 1 is negative 15. I owe 14, I owe 1, altogether I owe $15. Then divide both sides by the same number that you're multiplying the variable by. So we're going to divide both sides by 3. That way, 3 divided by 3 is 1. So I'm left with 1c, or just c, and on the right side I have negative 15 divided by 3, which is a negative 5. Final answer, c equals negative 5. So our multi-step equations are getting a little more complex, but still doable. Just remember your steps. Okay, last one. So last one, we're going to have to distribute. So here's the separation. This is what I have on my left, this is what I have on my right. If you look at my right, I can't do anything else. That's already simplified. But if you look at my left, I have to distribute in order to simplify it. So I'm going to distribute, I'm going to multiply the negative 2 times everything inside the parentheses. Negative 2 times t is negative 2t. Negative 2 times a positive 1, just negative 2. Bring down the 8. So in addition to distributing, I have to also combine like terms. 8 minus 2 is 6. Okay, so because 6 is positive, you could just put plus 6 and bring down the negative 2t. So on the left side, I have negative 2t plus 6. On the right side, bring that down. Negative 3t plus 1. I like to curve my t's because I don't want the t to get mixed up with my addition sign. Now I have variables on both sides. This is where it gets tricky. They're both negative, and so which one's smaller? Well, when both numbers are negative, the smaller one is actually the bigger, because the bigger negative is less value. So I want to eliminate the one with the less value, which is negative 3t. To get rid of a negative 3t, I'm going to combine it with its opposite, which is a plus 3t, a positive 3t. What you do to one side, do to the other. That zeroes out. So on my left side, I have negative 2t plus 3t. That's the same as 3 minus 2, which is 1. But 1t is the same as t. Bring everything else down. So I have the positive 6 right here equal to a 1 on the right. Now it's just a one-step equation. I have a positive 6 that I need to get rid of, so I combine it with its opposite, which is a negative 6. Negative 6 on both sides. That zeroes out, so t is equal to 1 minus 6, which is a negative 5. Final answer, t equals negative 5. Hope you enjoyed solving equations with variables on both sides. Good luck with your studies. Hope to see you again. Bye-bye.